On Thanksgiving, my sister's husband kept texting me under the table. One message said, "Tonight, same place." I showed my sister. She laughed and said, "I know. He's yours now." Then she stood and announced, "I've been sleeping with your ex since last Christmas." I was sitting at my sister Emily's dining table in Raleigh, North Carolina, trying to act normal while everyone passed around mashed potatoes and laughed about old family stories. It was one of those picture-perfect Thanksgiving scenes you only see in commercials, until my phone buzzed against my thigh. Then it buzzed again. And again. At first I thought it was just group chat noise, but when I slid my hand under the table and glanced down, my stomach flipped so hard I swear I felt the floor tilt. It was from her husband, Jason. "Tonight, same place." I froze. Same place. As in the same motel where he had cornered me 2 months ago after a family errand run with him. The same night I shut him down so hard he mumbled some excuse about being drunk and swore he'd never bring it up again. Another text popped up. "You know you want it." I felt sick. My heart was slamming so loudly, I thought someone could hear it over the soft jazz playing in the background. I stared across the table at him, laughing, drinking, acting like he wasn't a walking boundary-smashing disaster. And my sister was sitting right beside him, smiling like nothing was wrong. I didn't want drama. I didn't want to ruin Thanksgiving, but I also wasn't about to let this fester. So I did the only thing I could think of. I turned my phone to her, placed it face up on her lap, and whispered, "Emily, look." She glanced down. I braced myself for the explosion. But she didn't explode. She didn't gasp. She didn't cry or snap or even look offended. She just laughed, a short, weird, almost relieved laugh. Then she whispered back, "I know, he's yours now." For a second, I honestly thought I'd misheard her. I blinked at her, waiting for her to say she was joking or that she misunderstood. But she slid her chair back, stood up, and tapped her fork against her wine glass like she was about to give a wedding toast. The whole table went quiet. My mom put down her plate. Someone turned off the music. Emily looked directly at me, then at everyone else, and said, loud and clear, "Since we're doing honesty today, I've been sleeping with her ex since last Christmas." My ex. My ex, who wrecked me so badly I didn't date for almost a year. My ex who she had held me while I cried over. My ex who she swore she hated. I felt the air leave my lungs. My entire body went numb. I couldn't tell if she wanted to hurt me, humiliate me, or both. Jason stared up at her with this shocked, stupid look, like he didn't realize she was capable of dropping a bomb like that. My mom gasped so loudly it echoed. Everyone was staring at me. I didn't say a word. I couldn't. My throat felt like it was filled with sand and fire at the same time. Emily just smiled. This cold, satisfied smile that made me realize something was very, very wrong beneath the surface. And that's when I knew. This wasn't some moment of chaos or drunken confession. This was premeditated, planned, targeted. But it was her next sentence, quiet, meant only for me, that sent an actual chill down my spine. She leaned in, touched my shoulder, and whispered, "Don't act surprised, you started this." I had no idea what she meant, but I was about to find out. When she whispered, "You started this," it punched a hole straight through my memory, and all I could think was, what did she think I'd done? I hadn't betrayed her. I hadn't crossed any lines. If anything, I'd spent my whole life bending myself into a pretzel to protect her feelings. But maybe that's where I should start, because none of this happened in a vacuum. Nothing with Emily ever does. We grew up in Cary, right outside Raleigh. She was the golden child, the pretty one. The one teachers raved about, the one boys tripped over themselves for, the one my mom bragged about like she was some rare collectible. I was the responsible sister. The one who did the chores, the homework, the emotional cleanup. If Emily burned bridges, I handed her the buckets of water. And for years, I didn't mind. I thought that was just what older sisters did. The first real fracture happened when I started dating Tyler, yes, that ex, the one she claimed to hate. I fell stupidly hard for him. He was charming, attentive, and said all the right things. But the whole time, Emily gave him this cold, territorial glare, like she was silently evaluating him and finding him lacking. She used to call him cardboard cute, like he was someone you'd pick up cheap and toss out when bored. I didn't think much of it then. What I did think about was the night he dumped me, right after Christmas, out of nowhere. He said we didn't connect anymore. And when I tried to talk to Emily about it, she acted weirdly calm. She didn't call him names, didn't rant, didn't even look angry on my behalf. She just said, "Some people aren't meant to stay. Don't make it a tragedy." I should have seen that as a red flag. But I was too busy crying to read between lines. Fast forward a few months later, she met Jason. At first, I thought he was good for her. He was stable, funny, had that friendly dad energy even though he wasn't one. They clicked fast, too fast. She pushed for marriage within a year. My parents had concerns, but Emily steamrolled them like she always did. And suddenly, the attention wasn't on her anymore. It was on them. The married couple, the adults. Meanwhile, I was just single again, back to being the shadow she could hide behind. I started noticing weird little things after the wedding. Jason would always ask where I was going if I stood up from the dinner table. If I went to their house, he'd sit too close on the couch. Compliment me in this low, almost conspiratorial voice. I brushed it off. I didn't want to accuse him of anything if I was misreading it. The night he cornered me at the motel. After some errand he claimed Emily asked him to run. I shoved him off and told him never to pull something like that again. He apologized a million times and swore he'd been drunk, even though he didn't smell like alcohol at all. I told Emily nothing. I didn't want to start fires. Looking back, that was mistake number one. Mistake number two was thinking Emily didn't know. Because that's the thing, Emily has always known everything. She pays attention like it's a sport. So when she said, "You started this," it made my stomach sink. Maybe she thought the motel incident was something I wanted. Maybe Tyler didn't dump me out of nowhere. Maybe she'd been rewriting the story in her head for months. And now, she'd built an entire revenge plan around it. I just didn't know how deep it went. After Emily's little public bombshell, the rest of Thanksgiving went straight to hell. My mom kept asking, "What does she mean?" As if repeating the question would magically produce an answer. My dad tried to regain control of the room like he was chairing a board meeting, but Emily had already set the place on fire. Jason just sat there staring at his plate like he wished it would open and swallow him whole. I grabbed my coat and walked out the front door because if I stayed, I was either going to scream or throw something. Neither option felt productive. I drove back to my apartment in this weird numb haze, like my body was functioning on autopilot while my brain lagged 10 steps behind. I kept replaying her words, "He's yours now. You started this," and especially the part about her sleeping with my ex since last Christmas. Last Christmas, the same Christmas he broke up with me out of nowhere. It wasn't random, it wasn't him needing space. It wasn't a change in connection. He dumped me for her, my sister. I paced around my apartment for hours, trying not to lose it. Anger didn't even feel like the right word. It was deeper, like betrayal had turned into something sharp and physical, tucked under my ribs and pushing outward. At around midnight, I heard a soft knock on my door. I didn't check the peephole. I just knew. Emily. She walked in like she owned the place, still wearing her dress from dinner, hair perfectly curled, face untouched by the chaos she'd created. She looked calm, too calm. "Can we talk?" she asked, shutting the door behind her. I didn't want to, but I also wanted answers. Real answers, not whatever performance she'd put on for the family. She sat on my couch and crossed her legs, studying me like she was the one owed an explanation. "I need you to stop acting like a victim," she said. Those words sucked the air straight out of my lungs. "Emily, your husband is texting me to meet him and you're cheating with my ex. Explain how I'm not a victim here." She laughed, actually laughed. "Jason texts everyone. You're not special." I stared at her, waiting for her to admit she was saying it just to hurt me, but she kept going. "And Tyler, he wasn't yours anymore once you sabotaged me first." My pulse shot up. "What are you talking about?" She rolled her eyes like I was being dramatic. "You think I didn't notice how you stole attention from me after my wedding? How you made everything about how lonely and sad you were? You made me feel invisible, so I took back what you tried to take from me." I couldn't even process the mental gymnastics required to reach that conclusion. "Emily, I wasn't trying to steal anything from you. I was heartbroken." "Yes," she said, leaning forward, "and you made sure everyone saw it. You soaked up sympathy, you made Mom fuss over you constantly. I just evened the score." I felt my skin crawl. This wasn't jealousy. This wasn't sibling rivalry. This was spite, rotten, delusional spite. "You're insane," I whispered. "Maybe," she said with a shrug. "But I'm not stupid." Then she dropped another piece quietly, deliberately. "I know about the motel." My blood ran cold. Nothing happened. Doesn't matter, she said. I saw the way he looked at you. He wanted you, you knew it. You let it happen. Every word she spoke twisted reality into something unrecognizable. So, she continued, I figured, if you wanted to take something of mine, I'd take something of yours. Fair trade. I felt the world tilt again. She thought this was fair. She thought this was symmetrical. She thought betrayal was an exchange. Before I could respond, before I could even breathe, her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, smiled, then said, He's outside, Tyler. He wants to see you. The ground beneath my feet felt like it cracked open. Because the last person I expected to show up at my door that night was my ex, the same man she claimed to be sleeping with. And everything in her eyes told me she wasn't lying. I didn't want to believe her. I didn't want to imagine Tyler outside my building like some ghost crawling out of the past. But Emily sat there so calmly, so sure, like she was savoring the moment she'd been building toward for a year. When I didn't move, she sighed dramatically and said, Fine. I'll get him. Before I could stop her, she walked to my door, opened it, and waved someone in like she was hosting a dinner party. And then he stepped inside. Tyler, my ex, the man who broke me. The last person I ever expected or wanted to see again. He looked almost the same. A little more tired, a little skinnier, eyes darting everywhere but at me. He smelled like he'd been drinking, but not heavily. Just enough to take the edge off whatever this was. Hey, he whispered. I didn't answer. My throat wouldn't cooperate. Emily closed the door and leaned against it, watching us with this satisfied, quiet hunger, like she'd finally reached the good part of her movie. Tyler rubbed his hands together. I think we should clear some things up. Clear what up? I snapped. The fact that you dumped me for my sister, the fact that she's now married but apparently still using you as her seasonal hobby. Emily smirked, like she appreciated the burn. But Tyler didn't look smug, he looked scared. He said to her softly. Should I just tell her? Emily's smile vanished. Instantly, and that's when my stomach dropped. Hard. What are you talking about? I asked. Tyler swallowed. Looked at his shoes. Then finally, he lifted his eyes to mine. Your sister didn't just sleep with me, he said. She blackmailed me. My brain stopped working for a second. Blackmailed you how? I demanded. Tyler shot a quick glance at Emily, who was glaring daggers at him now, jaw clenched so tight a muscle twitched in her cheek. She told me, he said slowly, that if I didn't break up with you and get involved with her, she'd tell you something that would make you hate me forever. I felt like I'd been hit. What the hell could she possibly have on you? Silence. The kind that makes your heartbeat sound too loud. Finally, Tyler whispered, she said she had proof that I cheated on you. My chest tightened. Did you? No, he said, immediate and firm. Never, not once. But she said she could make it look real. She said she'd show you messages, screenshots, photos, stuff she fabricated, stuff she said she'd been collecting for months. I stared at him, trying to process the layers of insanity. And I believed her, he said quietly, because she showed me some, real-looking ones, ones that would have destroyed you. I turned to Emily, who hadn't denied a thing. She just shook her head like, God, he's ruining this. You blackmailed my boyfriend into breaking up with me, I said, barely recognizing my own voice. You fabricated cheating evidence. Oh, please, Emily snapped. He was going to leave you anyway. I just encouraged it. Tyler let out a bitter laugh. Encouraged? You threatened me. You threatened to come to her with lies. You said you'd do it the day after Christmas because that's when she'd be emotionally vulnerable enough to believe anything. Something in me cracked so sharply I felt it echo in my ribs. Emily rolled her eyes. Stop being dramatic, it served its purpose. Purpose, I said, stepping closer. What purpose? She looked at me with this cold, chilling sincerity. To prove you could lose something too. I felt my heart drop to the floor. And, she added, to keep him close, I needed him. Tyler flinched. Hard, but I didn't miss the way he tensed his shoulders, like he was bracing for something worse. That's when I realized there was more, a lot more, and Tyler knew it. His eyes flicked toward my kitchen, then toward my bedroom door, then toward the floor, like he was searching for the safest place to drop the next truth. Tell her, he whispered to himself. Then louder, tell her the real reason. Emily's entire expression twisted. Anger, fear, something raw. Tyler, she hissed, shut up. But he didn't. He looked at me with this hollow, regretful stare and said, She didn't blackmail me just to get me away from you. She blackmailed me because she needed my help. My pulse kicked up. Help with what? He took a breath. Then he dropped the first real twist. With Jason, she's been trying to set you up for months. I felt the floor tilt again. Set me up for what? What the hell did she want from me? I felt my whole body lock up. Set me up for what? I asked, but neither of them answered right away. Tyler kept rubbing his face like he was trying to erase the last year of his life. Emily crossed her arms and looked anywhere but at me, jaw clenched like she was physically holding the truth in her teeth. Tyler, I said again. Set me up for what? He finally met my eyes. She wanted Jason to cheat with you. Or make it look like you were the one chasing him. My head spun. Why? Before he could answer, Emily exploded. Because you get everything, okay? Everything. You get the sympathy. You get the emotional support. You get the attention. I finally had someone that made me feel chosen. And then he starts looking at you like. Like what? I snapped. Like a person, because he literally cornered me in a motel. Oh, please, she said. You could have told me. And you would have believed me, I shot back. You were too busy building your fantasy that everyone wanted me more than you. That hit her. I watched it land, but Tyler wasn't done. She got obsessed, he said. She kept telling me Jason was slipping, that she needed evidence you were trying to take him. She asked if I could help her get messages from you, fake ones, same as the cheating stuff. My stomach dropped. She wanted to show him, Tyler continued, to make him angry at you, to make you look like the problem in their marriage. Emily didn't deny it. She just stared at the floor, breathing hard, like she'd run too far to turn back. And, Tyler said, she wanted to show your parents too, to make them take her side if anything blew up. I felt cold all over. Why go that far? Emily looked up with this raw, shaking fury. Because you've been the victim your whole life. Everyone rallies around you. I wanted people to see you screw up just once. It was so twisted I could barely breathe. So you pushed Jason at me, I said. You let him think it was okay to make a move, she shrugged. He's a grown man. He makes his own choices. Because you told him I was jealous of you, Tyler said quietly. That I still wanted you, that you caught me looking at her old photos. You created this whole story so he'd think she was still hung up on her past. My jaw dropped. You told Jason I was obsessed with Tyler. Emily didn't answer. That was enough. The setup was clear now. Make me look jealous. Make me look untrustworthy. Make me look like a threat to her marriage. Then, when Jason inevitably cracked, because he clearly had that wandering eye energy from day one, blame me. And she'd have proof ready. This wasn't sibling rivalry. This wasn't insecurity. This was targeted character assassination. I stood there shaking, not from fear but from something sharp and cold building inside me. I always avoided conflict. I always smoothed things over. I always tried to keep the peace, but not this time. Get out, I said quietly. Neither of them moved. Both of you, out now. Tyler left first, like he was escaping a burning building. Emily stayed. She stared at me with this mixture of resentment and something close to panic. You don't get to judge me, she said. You don't know everything. Then tell me. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out, so she walked out instead. The second the door clicked shut behind her, something inside me snapped into place. This wasn't just a betrayal I could shrug off. This wasn't something I could talk out, cry out, or ignore. Emily had been planning to destroy my reputation, my relationships, and my sanity. She wanted a war. Fine, she'd get one. But not the loud, messy kind she expected. I was going to dismantle her. Quietly, precisely, permanently. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't cleaning up her mess. I was going to expose it. And the worst part, I hadn't yet learned the thing that would make everything she'd done look almost small, because there was a second twist coming. And it would explain why she needed Jason to hate me, why she needed Tyler to obey her, why she needed to make me the villain in everyone's eyes, why this wasn't just jealousy or spite. It was something deeper, something darker. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, pieces of the past year slotted together into new shapes, uglier ones. By morning, my anger had settled into something sharper, focus. I wasn't going to let Emily rewrite my life anymore. But the universe must have sensed I wasn't overwhelmed enough, because at 9 a.m., someone knocked on my door again. This time, when I checked the peephole, it wasn't Tyler. It was Jason. I hesitated, but then I opened the door because avoiding him wasn't an option anymore. He looked wrecked. Not hungover, defeated. His hair was a mess, His shirt rumpled like he'd slept in his truck, and his eyes were red in a way that wasn't from crying, but from realizing you've been living inside a lie. "Can I come in?" he asked, voice rough. I stepped aside. He sat on the edge of my couch, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor like he was scared it might move. After a long minute, he said something I never expected. "I need to tell you about your sister." My stomach tightened. "Which part?" He shook his head. "No, you don't understand. You think she's manipulative, and she is, but there's something else." He paused. "Something I should have told you months ago." I braced myself. "Okay," I said slowly. "Tell me." He took a deep breath. "Emily's been seeing a man, not Tyler, not someone you know. Someone she's been involved with for a long time." That confused me. "You mean an affair, another one?" "No," he whispered. "It's not an affair, it's worse. She's been meeting him for money." The words didn't make sense at first. "Money," I repeated. "What kind of—" Jason looked up at me, and his shame was so deep it made my chest hurt. "She's been selling things," he said quietly. "Photos, videos, sometimes meeting him." That's what she told me. My stomach turned. She said she needed the extra cash because we were struggling, and I believed her, because I was barely making rent after I lost that construction job. He rubbed his hands together, voice shaking. "But then I found out the truth. She wasn't doing it for us." "Then why?" I demanded. His next words hit like a brick to the ribs. "She was doing it to keep him quiet." I froze. "Quiet about what?" Jason swallowed, hard. "He has something on her, something big, something that could ruin her life. She owes him. And every month she has to pay him to keep him from sending it to the family." My throat closed up. "What kind of thing?" I whispered. Jason hesitated for several long seconds before he finally answered. "He said he has proof she stole money from your parents' business. Thousands, maybe tens of thousands." He glanced at me, eyes full of guilt. "She didn't tell me the details. But she said if it got out, your parents could press charges." I felt the room tilt. My sister stealing from our family, extorting herself to keep it quiet, paying off some guy with whatever he demanded. Jason continued, voice breaking. "She told me she'd do anything to keep it buried. Anything. And when I found the messages between her and this guy, I confronted her. She said she had it under control. That I needed to stay out of it." He dragged his hands over his face. "But then she started acting paranoid, saying you were asking questions, saying you were looking at her differently, saying you were going to figure it out." My skin crawled. "So," he finished, "she needed to make sure you weren't credible. She needed you to look unstable, petty, jealous." He looked at me. "She needed you to look like the kind of person who would lie." It clicked, hard, sudden, sickening. Everything Emily had done, the fake cheating evidence, the setup with Jason, the manipulation of Tyler, the Thanksgiving drama, it wasn't just about jealousy or attention. It was about a secret she would burn the world to protect, but Jason wasn't done. "She told me something else," he said quietly. "Something I didn't understand at the time, but after last night I think I finally do." My heart pounded. "What?" He looked at me with real fear in his eyes. "She said the only reason she married me was to get ahead of something, to create a distraction, to look stable on paper. She needed a husband before things blew up." He paused. "And she said the only threat left was you." My blood went ice cold. "Why me?" I whispered. Jason didn't hesitate. "Because you're the only person she can't manipulate, and the only person smart enough to put the pieces together." For a moment, I couldn't speak, couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Because that was the second twist. Emily wasn't just cruel, she was cornered, desperate, dangerous. And she truly believed I was the one person who could expose her, which meant she wasn't done, far from it. She'd been planning to destroy me for months, but she had no idea I finally understood why. And now I knew exactly where to hit her back. I sat across from Jason, trying to absorb everything he'd just unloaded, but the more he talked, the clearer one thing became. This wasn't about jealousy. It wasn't about attention. It wasn't even about Tyler or Jason. It was about survival, Emily's, and she was willing to destroy me to save herself. But I still didn't understand the root of it. Why me? Why this obsession with ruining my credibility? Why did she see me as the threat more than our parents, more than Jason, more than the man she was paying off? I finally asked, what exactly did she think I would figure out? What made her so sure I was a danger to her? Jason hesitated, then reached into his jacket and pulled out his phone. He scrolled for a second, hands shaking, and then handed it to me. I took this picture the night she confessed, before she deleted everything. It was a screenshot of a text thread between Emily and the unknown man she'd been paying. My stomach lurched when I saw the preview of a photo he'd sent her, something blurred but unmistakably looking like bank records. My parents' company name was right at the top, but it was the message below it that made my skin crawl. If your sister finds out, she'll go straight to your mom, and you know what your mom will do. Emily's reply was immediate. She can't find out, I'll shut her down, I'll make sure no one believes a word she says. I felt cold, mechanical, hollow. This isn't just about the money, is it? I asked quietly. Jason shook his head. No. It's worse. He stood, pacing like the truth was too big to stay still. She told me your mom trusted you more than anyone, said you were the logical one, the one who always saw through her. She said you were the only person in the family who didn't fall for her charm. He swallowed. She was terrified that one day you'd notice things didn't add up. I felt my throat tighten. Like what? He sat back down, leaned in, and told me the part that made my blood run cold. She wasn't just stealing money from your parents' company, he said softly. She was using your identity to do it. Everything inside me froze. What? Jason nodded miserably. Your name, your login, your credentials. That's why she panicked every time you were near your parents' office. That's why she started pulling away from you. And why she needed to make you look unpredictable and jealous. Because if anything got traced back to you and you denied it, she needed people to believe you were lying. My chest felt like it was collapsing in on itself. She used my name, I whispered. More than once, he said. She told me it was temporary. She said she'd fix it before anyone noticed, but then the amounts got bigger. And the guy she'd been paying, he found out. He threatened to expose her, and she got desperate. My heart hammered so hard I felt dizzy. She really thought, Jason continued, that if you found out, you'd go to your mom first. And she said your mom trusts you more than her own husband. He swallowed. She said your mom would believe anything you said, and that you'd be the one person who could convince them to press charges. My stomach twisted in a slow, sick coil. That's why she needed to ruin me. Not emotionally, not socially. Legally, she needed to make sure that if anything pointed back to me, my parents would already believe Emily's version, that I was jealous, unstable, vindictive. A perfect scapegoat. A clean fall. A sister sacrificed to save herself. Jason's voice dropped to a whisper. She told me, if my sister talks, I'm done, so I'll make sure she never gets the chance. I closed my eyes. Everything made sense now. Her coldness, her obsession with attention, her fixation on controlling the narrative, her frantic need to twist every situation, her rush to get married, her bitterness when I didn't crumble fast enough, her public meltdown during Thanksgiving. She wasn't trying to win some rivalry. She was eliminating a threat. And I wasn't just a threat to her ego. I was a threat to her freedom. For the first time in my entire life, I finally saw who my sister really was. Not insecure, not dramatic, not jealous. Calculating, capable, and cruel enough to burn her own family to stay afloat. And that realization didn't just hurt. It changed everything I was about to do next. Because now I knew exactly what leverage I had. And exactly how to destroy her without laying a single finger on her. I didn't cry. I didn't break down. I didn't call my parents or confront Emily one more time. When you finally understand the kind of person you're dealing with, something inside you goes still. Cold, focused. And for the first time in my entire life, I let that coldness guide me, not to accuse her, not to rant, not to expose anything yet. I asked for a simple meeting with our mom under the excuse of wanting advice. My mom has always been detail-oriented, sharp, the kind of person who notices when decimal points shift. When I sat down in her office, I didn't mention Emily at all. I just said, "Hey, can you walk me through my old login access? I want to make sure it's still disabled." Her brows pulled together immediately. "What login access? You haven't had access in over a year." I played dumb. "Can you check?" 5 minutes later, she froze. "Why does this say you logged in 3 months ago?" I shrugged, letting the silence do the heavy lifting. Then she dug deeper. She found more, and then the numbers she didn't recognize. She kept repeating, "That's strange," in this flat, focused voice she uses when she's already 10 steps ahead. I didn't accuse Emily. I didn't suggest anything. I didn't plant a single idea. I simply let my mom connect the dots on her own. And I could see the moment she realized someone else had been using my credentials. Her entire face changed. She didn't need me to say a word. No texts, no calls, no responses to Emily's dozens of frantic messages. Silence unnerves people like her. Silence leaves them exposed. Silence makes them show their guilty tells. By the second day, she was sending paragraphs. By the third, she was sending barbed messages like, "You better not be doing what I think you're doing." By the fourth, she was calling our mom repeatedly. My mom didn't answer. That was how I knew my silence had worked. On a quiet Friday morning, my mom called a family business review meeting. Just her, my dad, and Emily. Not me. I wasn't invited. I didn't need to be. By noon, Emily was blowing up my phone with messages that were no longer angry, just terrified. "What did you say? What is wrong with you? You set me up. They're looking at everything." "No, Emily, you set yourself up. All I did was stop covering for you. That night, Jason texted me. She moved out of the house. Your mom told her to come clean or lawyers would be involved. She's losing it." Not my problem. Not anymore. But he added one final detail that locked everything into place. Your mom told her she already knew the truth. She said, "I saw the patterns months ago. I just needed confirmation." And she said you never said a single word against Emily. Good. I didn't need to ruin Emily. I just needed to stop protecting her. 3 days later, Emily showed up at my apartment. Not angry, not smug, not manipulative, just hollow. She asked, "Why did you do this to me?" And I told her the truth. "I didn't, you did it to yourself." She tried to cry, tried to blame me, tried to twist it into a pity narrative, but I'm not her safety net anymore. So I told her one last thing, quiet, calm, and honest. "You tried to destroy my life because you were scared I'd tell the truth. I never planned to tell anyone. But after everything you did, I just stopped lying for you." She stared at me like the world had tilted, because she finally understood. I didn't strike back. I didn't scheme. I didn't manipulate. I simply let reality hit her without my hands blocking the blow. And that was the real revenge. She built a paper empire of lies. I just stopped holding it up. When she walked away, she didn't slam the door. She just whispered, "You ruined everything." I whispered back, "No. You finally faced it." And for the first time in years, I felt free, really free. People like Emily don't collapse because someone pushes them. They collapse because one day the person they've been standing on steps aside. And I stepped aside. Thanksgiving next year will be a whole lot quieter. And honestly, I'm okay with that.